Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I want to talk about the Zenith Chronomaster Original Edition for Hodinkee. I don't know if I've ever actually covered a Hodinkee limited edition collaboration watch. Obviously, I'm quite aware that they often do them, but Zenith is a brand that I'm fond of, and the El Primero is a watch I've been interested in a variety of iterations, actually. So I thought this would be a fun one to explore. Now, let's get the specifications out of the way first. This is a 300-piece limited edition, and it is being sold for $9,500 US. It can be purchased either from the Zenith e-commerce shop or the Hodinkee shop online. The watch offers 50 meters of water resistance. It is a chronograph, so the way this one functions is it has hours, minutes, and seconds for the watch, and then it has a 1/10 of a second chronograph function for what I think of as the chronograph second hand. It does have a date feature, kind of at the 4:30 position on the dial. It has a sapphire crystal. It's loomed with white superluminova. The dial is described color-wise as a matte opaline salmon. The watch is stainless steel. It's 38 millimeters in diameter. It's about 46.2 millimeters lug to lug. It's 12.7 millimeters thick, and it offers a 19 millimeter lug width. The watch itself is stainless steel. The watch is powered by the El Primero caliber 3600. That's an automatic movement. It beats at 5 hertz, and it has a power reserve of approximately 60 hours. So, what are my overall thoughts on this iteration of the watch? There's so much about it that I like, but it's definitely not one I would ever be in the realm of buying. And the main reason is I just cannot get behind the color scheme that they went with for the watch. The Zenith Chronomaster Originals are actually the style of watch I have been most considering from Zenith. I like the 38 millimeter diameter for it. It's very compact compared to a lot of other chronographs that are on the market. I actually think that the date window works at the 4:30 position on this type of watch. Of course, the 3600 caliber movement I think is an excellent piece of tech. And one of my favorite features about that movement is the tachymeter around the outer edge of the watch dial. It's easier, I think, to read that, albeit it's still a challenge given the size of the watch, with that sort of central chronograph seconds hand actually progressing around the dial once every 10 seconds. So it's just easier to get a snapshot and look quickly and read that chronograph functionality. My biggest actual negative that I have with the new movement is that it's meant that the way it's set up with the subdials, the watch doesn't actually allow you to use the chronograph beyond an hour. So as you can see from the actual watch dial, the way the subdials are laid out, we have one that's keeping track of the seconds for the watch itself. We have one that's keeping track of the minutes of the chronograph, and we have one that is keeping track of the seconds running on the chronograph. But aesthetically, I just find this iteration of the watch too off-putting to be of interest. I don't think it's terrible, and I will give them special kudos points for the color-matched date window, which I think looks really good with how it's integrated to the dial color. But the dial color itself, I think, is horrific would be a strong word, but let's just say it's just not my cup of tea. When I saw this, my initial reaction was, were they going for salmon? But it didn't look right. And then I thought, the way I would have described it is brown, which, okay, in the world of watches, that's a little too simplified. And so when I was reading the article that Hodinkee had about the watch and saw that the language was the fairly pretentious phrase, matte salmon opaline. So, okay, that's what it is. I actually do think that most salmon dials look pretty good. It's not been a color that I've been interested in getting for my own collection, but I do like looking at that type of watch. It's not bad. It's just, I don't know. It reminds me of Adobe Sandstone or something. It's just not working for me. They've kept the tricolors for the subdials, but it's very muted, which in some ways is good. Like when I first saw Zenith, some of the subdial color scheme that they use on some of their watches, I really didn't care for. It was more just a shock, like, why are there this many colors on a dial? But I've really grown to appreciate what they do with, say, the typical Chronomaster originals that they're coming out with now. This is a little too muted in my view. I do think it works with this off salmon that they've gone with. It's not particularly inspired. So It just doesn't work for me overall versus the non-limited Zenith Chronomaster original. I think that's a quite a bit better looking watch. So anyway, those are my first thoughts about this watch. What are your thoughts? Do you like this? Do you like this color scheme? Are you a fan of the collaboration? Or if you want to put some comments in about Zenith, and do you like the Chronomaster originals? Are you more in the Chronomaster Sport line? Or are there some dramatically different model that you just think is better and overlooked? I'd love to read them. And otherwise, I will talk to everyone on the next video. Take care.